We are witnessing the most terrifying thing about the St. Louis Blues after dominating the Winnipeg Jets in Game 6 and forcing a Game 7. The stakes have never been higher for the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets heading into Game 7. We're going to break down everything you need to know going into Game 7, the historic night, and exactly why the St. Louis Blues are absolutely terrifying. We're going to break down all this and more in this episode, so you're not going to want to miss that. Before we get into that, if you're part of the 90% watching this and you're not subscribed, if you love the St. Louis Blues or the rest of the NHL, make sure to go down and hit that free subscribe button. It helps us out a bunch, and in return, we'll give you updates on your St. Louis Blues and the rest of the league. But with that, we got up straight into the first topic today, where we did see the St. Louis Blues dominant 5-2 win versus the Winnipeg Jets. It could have been 5-1, but the late power play did give them 2. Looking at this did extend their win streak to 15 home wins in a row, which is tied for the 4th longest in NHL history. And the Blues have been dominating. We've seen them during stretches, 4 goals in just 5 minutes. Darius, what is your thoughts on this Blues team and just how they continue to roll through at home and looking to win Game 7?
Pretty impressive. I mean, again, top 5 all time in the NHL for win streaks at home. Very impressive stuff. And I am wondering when the next home win will be. Will it be in round 2 or next season? Because they can keep this thing going. So hopefully, I think all Blues fans obviously are hoping that it's in round 2 and that they win Game 7. Now, the one thing that I've found very interesting, we've been saying it the last couple of videos about this series, is every time the Winnipeg Jets win, A, it's on home ice, and B, tight games, very, very tightly contested. Every time the St. Louis Blues have won in this series at home, and they've been absolute blowouts. 5-2, I mean, you could say maybe it isn't a blowout, but should have been 5-1 like you alluded to. The power play got them on the board, and they've been electric. The Winnipeg Jets have to give credit where credit's due on the power play, and obviously their offensive prowess there. But the St. Louis Blues have an opportunity here to, in Game 7, all it takes is one bounce, right? But every single game has gone to the home team in this series. It's a very interesting series. I mean, I predicted it from the start that it was going to be 7 games, that the St. Louis Blues would win this series. So it's looking likely, at least right now, that could happen. But we'll see what happens. The Winnipeg Jets on the other side, and we'll get to Connor Hellebuck and all of that in a second. They need to win this Game 7. This is a legacy Game 7 for the Winnipeg Jets. So I think the St. Louis Blues, while they haven't won on the road all series, they're in a really good position here because all the pressure is on the Jets to win this Game 7. They have to do it. They were the best team in the league. And if they don't, there's going to be lots of changes, I feel like, in Winnipeg.
And listen, the big thing is we've seen everyone kind of chip in. I mean, Cam Fowler, who we're going to touch on shortly, has been outstanding for this team. We've seen Broberg open the scoring. But the big thing with this Blues team, and listen, if you're part of the Blues organization watching this, I don't care what it takes. John Gruden has to be on this plane to Winnipeg. Chris Pronger, Pat Maroon, the big rig. These guys have to be in the locker room heading into Game 7 to continue this win streak. I mean, we're seeing how pumped up the home crowd is. You can't fly all the fans. So get 3 of these guys to Winnipeg ASAP. Put them on the team plane, whatever it takes. But I mean, listen, looking at some of the back end right now and talking on Cam Fowler, most points in the playoffs by defensemen. Cam Fowler, number 1. You can see down there at number 4, Colton Parayko. This is more than Evan Bouchard, the power play merchant. We can see Cale Makar also up for Norris. These guys on this top line have been phenomenal, Darius. I mean, Cam Fowler, we continuously say how good he's been and looking like the best trade this season among any other team in the NHL, looking at the scoring being number 1. Robert Thomas at number 2. What is your thoughts on how these defensive pairings have been playing, and what's your thoughts on Cam Fowler in particular?
Well, really quick, you did bring him up. Robert Thomas, fantastic in this series. One of the best skaters in the entire series, and he's been unbelievable, absolutely electric. But in terms of the defense, I mean, if you told us, or if you were talking about it before the series started, who's going to lead the series, or not even the series, the NHL in defensive points, I don't think you would say Cam Fowler, right? Like, he's been playing absolutely out of his mind. And not only that, when you look at the list, Colton Parayko is on there. Colton Parayko is not really known for his offensive prowess either, right? So more of a big defensive defenseman. So he's putting in the work. They're both putting in the work. And when you look at that list, I mean, there's a lot of the usual suspects there. I mean, Bouchard, Cale Makar, like you'd expect a couple of these guys. And Lane Hudson's been fantastic, all season. He's going to be a special player. But the Blues, defensemen, defense core are putting in that work, especially Cam Fowler. Again, I will maintain that was the trade of the season because it's made such a difference for this team. And obviously he's leading the way. He's leading the way for this team. So everything's coming together, I think, at the right time for the St. Louis Blues. That much is obvious, at least at end the regular season, right? But even in the playoffs, dominant wins at home, and now they have to put it together on the road. And I think it could really go either way because, yes, the series is tied 3-3, but like I said, Binnington's made some big saves where you're not getting those big saves on the other end. Again, we'll touch on that in a few minutes, but you're not getting those saves on the other end. And you're a bounce away from winning game 7. These games on the road for the Blues that have been in Winnipeg, very tightly contested, very tight games, right? And coming down to the wires. So all it takes is one bounce. And I think that they're putting in the work. And, again, all it takes is one bad call, whatever it is, and it can go one way or another.
Because, I mean, the big thing, and let's touch on Binnington before we touch on the fraud on the other end of the ice. Right now, Binnington is playing out of his mind. The save last night, like I said, he should have only allowed one. But the big thing is they scored on the power play. Who really cares? You win 5-2 in this game. But Binnington's success has been a big part of this defensive core as well. Once again, St. Louis fans, thank the Edmonton Oilers for making a colossal screw-up, letting Broberg walk, and more. But the big thing with this defensive end is Binnington is helping them out as well. We've seen how good he's been. Giant win streaks at home. I mean, I'm going to kind of throw it to you, Darius. What's your thoughts on just how good Binnington's been? And I think a lot of people slept on him going into the series.
So I think in order to win championships or even go far in the playoffs or, compete with the best teams, I think that first of all, you need buy-in and alignment throughout the organization, which I think the St. Louis Blues do. And then I think the players have bought into the system that Jim Montgomery has brought forth to the table. And I think that I've talked about it before. It's that team defense, the structure of the team. They play very well. But when things do get through, Binnington's been playing out of his mind, right? He's there to backstop them that, if they do make a mistake, if things do get through, because again, the Winnipeg Jets, best team in the regular season this year. They have a lot of offensive weapons. They just get, they got a few of them back from injury. Mark Scheifele's obviously still out. We don't know what's happening with that in terms of game 7, but they have a lot of weapons. He's there to backstop them, making the big saves. And when you look at the other end of the ice, can't say the same for the Winnipeg Jets. And I feel like this will be, and this is, Mark, I think we were talking about this before the series started. It's going to come down to the goaltending, right? It was going to, and it was going to come down to the wire anyway. So here we are. This is the moment. And I think that the St. Louis Blues probably have the edge in that department. So they've been playing great defensive structure, especially at home, not letting up too many goals and obviously scoring a lot of goals. But it's because they're playing the right way. And when there is, defensive lapses, anything does go wrong, Binnington's been there to make those big saves, which you expect out of him now. He's a big game performer and he knows how to play he doesn't shy away from the big moments, the high pressure situations.
And I just want to give a big shout out. Binnington's puck handling was outstanding. We've seen it with Chris Pass, controlling the puck around the net. That really stood up to me in the game. And I also want to give a shout out to the defense, where every single player on the defensive end, other than Nick Leddy, did put up a point last night. So it just shows how good and electric this back end's been. But let's get into what might win the series for the St. Louis Blues, and that's the fact that Connor Hellebuyck stinks. Let's be honest here. Looking at last night, we've seen Connor Hellebuyck pulled again. Comrie coming in the third period. We've seen the chants echoing through. The biggest thing is I think Connor Hellebuyck just likes the Enterprise Center showers because it seems like he wants to get to them fast. He can't even get to the third period before he wants to get in these showers, dearies. Connor Hellebuyck has been the issue for the Jets. Let's be honest here. 758 save percentage on the road and 879. If the Blues can get this scoring streak continuing, I know they haven't scored 5, 6, 7 goals on the road versus the Jets yet, but if they can get the scoring streak, if we can see a giant game from Binnington, which we have seen, I mean, in the Four Nations this year, do you think Connor Hellebuyck might fumble and kind of crumble on home ice with the pressure like he's kind of dealt with on the road in these closeout games?
I think there's a very good possibility that's exactly what happens. The home team has won every single game of this series, and I wouldn't be surprised if game 7 went the other way to the road team. And it's because of exactly what you just said. Binnington is very calm and poised in these moments. We've seen it time and time and time again. He's come up big in these exact moments, and I feel like he's going to again. And we've seen the complete opposite on the other end of the ice from Connor Hellebuyck. He hasn't finished a game away, right, on the road this series. He hasn't even finished the game. So, he's been pulled in every single game. He hasn't been able to come up with the big saves. And Scott Arniel had a quote after the game last night, and he basically said that, our defense collapsed, and not just the defense, but the whole team collapsed in on Connor Hellebuyck. It's not about Connor Hellebuyck, but I don't know, while that could be true, I don't know if that's the full truth, right? Like Connor Hellebuyck especially in a series as tight as this one, going to 7, he needs to come up with some of these big saves that he's been giving them during the regular season that we've seen in the past. He's never able to do it in the playoffs for some reason. Binnington is doing that. When there are defensive lapses and breakthroughs on, St. Louis's end, he's going to come up with a big save. We've seen it in this series and we've seen it in the past. Connor Hellebuck is not going to be able to offer that to you. So it does kind of fall on him because you can't rely on him in those moments because you're going to have those defensive lapses as a team, right? And I think the Winnipeg Jets are a great team. I honestly do. But when you can't rely on your goaltender to come up with a big save once in a while and he's getting pulled, I mean, that has to shake the confidence of the team as well, right? Coming into this game 7. So if you ask me who's the favorite coming into this, it's probably still the Winnipeg Jets, right? When you talk to anybody out there, maybe the odds-on favorite. But if you look at it logically, realistically, from what we've seen in this series, there is so much pressure on Connor Hellebuck and the Winnipeg Jets that I think the St. Louis Blues are going to come into it feeling good, feeling free, and they know they can play with this team. So it's going to be a very interesting game 7.
And I mean, the big thing with this Blues team, if they end up losing game 7, which they're not going to, I'm going to just put that out there right now. If they do, this is still such a young team and it's terrifying for the future and just putting the NHL on notice that this team is going to continue to dominate. But Blues fans, what's your thoughts so far? Is this exceeding your expectations on what this season was? Because honestly, looking at this pre-Christmas, we were not expecting forcing the President's Trophy winners into a game 7 after dominating the game 6. Who's been your favorite Blue to watch this series? I mean, Cam Fowler's been outstanding, but there's a lot of guys that have stepped up. Go down and leave a comment down below on everything you want to talk about the Blues. And if you want to see it cover something about the Blues, let us know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, my co-host, Darius, and take care.